Greetings, this is Dr. Jimmy. I'm here with my evil cat Bob. Literally, she's right here. Say hello, Bob. Hello, Bob. Hello, evil cat. She's a nice little cat. She doesn't like being picked up, though. Oh, say hello for the nice people. She doesn't like that at all. But she was literally walking right in front of the computer. And today I will have my 15th video in my series on the history of the event Universal Orlando Halloween Horror Nights 23. What evil has taken root? Which was held at Universal Studios Florida back in the year 2013. Yes, just about 3 years ago. But first, of course, showing off my t-shirt of the day. And today's t-shirt's a lovely Halloween Horror Nights t-shirt from the year 1998. This was the presenting image for the event known as Primal Scream. Ah! Yes, that was very lovely. And on the back of the shirt, it says, I survived the event. Yes, the old I survived logos they used to use back in the day. Very classy. And to think that was 18 years ago. Good heavens. Good heavens, 18 years ago. Huh. Doesn't seem that long at all. Anyway, and today, let's just get on with it then. I left off in part 14, if you recall, beginning my description of the street experiences. This is what they called the scare zones, that, yeah? Although, unlike the previous year, when they really didn't have scare zones, they did have set pieces in 2012, those little cemetery bits all over the place, but they had those roaming hordes. In 2013, they did actually have set scare zones. 5 of them, to be precise, that really were set scare zones with set up, although they, of course, had to be, in certain areas of the park, sets that could be moved out of the way during the daytime so the parade could go by. In other areas of the park, they could have them off to the side. And in some cases, they could build a huge structure, which they did, actually. But they were all themed to The Walking Dead, as it was The Walking Dead, The Undead Streets. And so today I'll proceed to the second one of those set scare zones, because in the last video I talked about the fall of Atlanta, which had been in the New York Street area of the park. Well, the second one took place in the Hollywood Boulevard area of the park. It was a scare zone called Clear. What is the BBC trying to get in touch with me for? That makes no sense. Never mind. Anyway, Clear. And it was based on one single episode of the 3rd series or season of The Walking Dead, which was also called Clear. That makes sense. It's that episode where Rick and Coral go back over, and I could get the little Rick and Coral figures from the little Funkos if I wanted to, but it wouldn't be quite, it would be kind of weird because it's not a 3rd series Rick, it's a 1st series Rick, and then there's I think there's the prison. I guess the prison Rick is closer to the 3rd series. I think he's from the 4th series. And the 4th series Coral. Maybe I could use those two because Coral's wearing the hat. But I'm not going to bother with those. I'll leave them over there. Anyway, Rick and Coral go back home, basically. Go back to the town they grew up. Well, the town where Coral grew up, or kind of grew up. When the whole apocalypse happened, the little town in Georgia, near Atlanta. Go back. When they go back there, they find out that the person they left behind, Morgan, who we haven't seen since the 1st series, has gone flipping bonkers. Oh, not quite like that, but basically Morgan, he's lost his wife, who became a walker, and killed his son, and he thought he could protect his family. They're gone, and it's kind of caused him to become unhinged. And so now he thinks that it's his responsibility to clear the whole planet, or at least whatever part of the planet he is on. And by clearing, he means, of course, eliminating the walkers, but also any humans, because humans are just potential walkers. After all, everybody's going to turn. No one is safe. No one is innocent, basically, and therefore he has to kill any person he comes across as well. Now he's going to be a bit nice about it. He puts out warnings. So he's put graffiti all over the town, like, go away, you're not wanted here, and turn back, you know, basically get the fuck out, maybe not quite so rude, but that sort of stuff, warning people off, and also putting saying, you know, not safe, that sort of thing, but also over and over again the word clear, which he's obsessed with. He must clear it. And he's got these little things set up as zombie traps, trapping the walkers. Because the walkers, you know, they're fairly stupid. Whatever intelligence they had in life is completely gone. Some of these various zombie apocalypse films or programs might give the zombies a rudiment of their previous life. Might remember, you know, where a shopping mall is. It was important in their previous life, so they'll go be attracted to the shopping mall or something. And eventually in Romero's film they start to train the zombies and they start to show some kind of intelligence. But in these Walking Dead television program, to the best of my knowledge, the zombies seem to have no mind at all, no memory of their previous life, only the insatiable hunger. They respond to noise, they respond to, you know, movement, they see their prey, they eat it. And it's not just human flesh, they crave it's any living flesh. So they go after animals as well. One way to get around the walkers is they also react to smell. They can smell the living, and if you smell dead, they'll leave you alone, because they'll think you're one of them. And they don't eat each other. They're not interested in dead flesh, they're interested in live flesh. So if you cover yourself with the blood of a walker, it has a particular stench because of the virus, one assumes. The walkers smell what they think is other walkers. So if you're covered with the blood of the walkers, if you manage to cover yourself with clothing that's been drenched in the zombie guts and entrails, they will assume, even if you're walking around, especially if you don't say anything, that you are not alive. It won't register on their instinctual prey, basically. But if you speak, they don't speak themselves. They recognize that as a sign of life, and they'll come after you. As the stupid little boy Sam fucked things up in the opening episode of, I think his name was Sam, the boy with the cookies, in season 6, of course. But we'll get to that some other day, if ever. But here, Clear, what he did was he set up these walker traps. And what he did was he set up these structures in the city, in the town, with sharp, pointy sticks, the bamboo sticks, poles that have been pointed to a sharp point, sticking outwards, and then he puts bait, of course, live bait. So he goes and captures little fluffy kitty cats, or bunny rabbits, or rats, or mongooses, or, well, probably not mongooses. There aren't a lot of mongoose running around in Georgia, although there were quite a few in Hawaii, for some reason. Chipmunks, squirrels, what have you, little opossums, you know, raccoons, whatever, gets these little critters and puts them into cages, like the sort of pet carriers that you have when you have to take, you know, some animal to the, she's right there, V-E-T. Yes, you don't want to say that out loud. She might know, I think she can spell. She's giving me an evil look. Anyway, she's over on her daybed and she's not happy. Of course, she's probably pissed because I picked her up and showed her off before. Anyway, though, so the zombies, the walkers, they're going to come staggering along, and they're going to see the little fluffy bunny rabbit and go, "Ooh, nom nom nom," and then they come staggering toward it. And even though there's a pointed stick aimed right at them, they're going to keep going, and then they go, and wonder why they can't go any further, because they're impaled on a pointy stick and they can't get to Fluffy Bunny. So, and they can't get loose because they don't know how. They're stupid. So then, because they're all immobilized in this way, Morgan can come down with his gun and go bang, 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 bangity bang, very careful, headshots putting out all the zombies. See, very clever. With live people, though, he has to be more careful because live people have some intelligence and they know better than to impale themselves on sticks. So in that case, he's going to be up on the roof of a building with a rifle, with a sniper shot, and take the people out that way. Or somehow. Anyway, Rick and I think Michonne went with them. They went back and they found Morgan and they tried to convince him to give up his insanity and whatever. But Morgan couldn't be dissuaded. They got away with their lives, but were really saddened at what Morgan had become. Of course, we know that later Morgan would reclaim his sanity through the efforts of a man who was a vegetarian and some sort of philosopher. I think he might have been a Buddhist, taught him the martial arts and taught him the ways of peace and Zen or something, and got him all pacifist, non-violent and happy, at least somewhat at peace with himself. And so he then is now not so evil, violent and homicidal anymore. In fact, he's unfortunately less homicidal than he should be when he came back on the series and rejoined the other people later on. But we didn't know that back in 2013 when only Series 4 had just started on telly and we were seeing bits of 1, 2 and 3 in the parks. And this was a major piece of Season 3. So, what they did in the streets then, they didn't have Morgan, and it would have been neat if they had his voice shouting from the rooftops of Hollywood Boulevard, telling us to get the heck out and trying to shoot us or something. But they didn't even have that. All they had were all of those little pieces that he set up to trap zombies, as little set pieces that are in the park. And since it's on Hollywood Boulevard, these could easily be set up on little wheels that could be rode in and out so that it wouldn't disrupt the Superstar Parade during daylight hours. See, very nice. Now they want to recreate all the graffiti that Morgan had written. So what they did, they didn't actually spray paint all these things all over the park. That would have been fun, but no. What they chose to do is use BOGOs on lights, so that the lighting up in the rooftops, aiming at the walls of Hollywood Boulevard and on the street, would project the graffiti as words. So you would see the words clear, you would see, get out, all that sort of thing, all over the walls, as lighting projections rather than actual spray-painted graffiti. Now, the scare actors, of course, were the zombies of The Walking Dead. Of course, nothing else. Staggering about. And, of course, these are from the third series, so they're a little more slow-moving than one from the first series that we saw in New York. That was very clever to do it that way. A little more rotting, because they're from Season 3. And what was more intriguing about that is that some of them, of course, are impaled on the traps, and so are trying to run away, or trying to move, and they're caught. And some of them, of course, have these bamboo poles sticking through their body and are so sort of walking with them anyway. But they also had some dummies, some mannequins up on some of the traps, and so some people might assume that a certain set piece had a mannequin when it was a live scare actor who was being very clever by just standing real still and not moving and looking like he might be just a mannequin. And so you might not realize that this was an actual scare actor, especially if he hadn't moved for a couple of minutes, and you might be really intrigued with the detail of the set piece. Oh, look, a little cage with fluffy bunnies in it. And you might walk up to that little cage and say, "Who's a little fluffy bunny? Oh, you little bit of bunny rabbit." And all of a sudden, the walker that's just still standing like this will suddenly go, "Roar!" and come after you and make you go, "Ah!" like I did that time. Yes, it got me really good. A very good scare. So people say, "Oh, The Walking Dead everywhere, this is bullshit." It's just, well, yeah, it was, a bit overdone. They'd only had one Walking Dead house the year before, mind you, but people were already saying too much Walking Dead. It was only the second year, And the house they had in 2013 was so much better than the one they had in 2012, which wasn't even all that bad, mind you. And the streets were very inventive. I actually thought they did a pretty good job, considering that they were limited to just doing Walking Dead in the streets. And so, and yeah, I got some decent scares. And that was a pretty good one right there, because I set myself up. I got intrigued with the little fluffy bunnies and wanted to go look at them more closely, not realizing that was a real scare actor and not a mannequin. So that was quite fun. Another thing about that scare zone, on my last night at Halloween Horror Nights 23, which was not the final night of the event that year, that was a year I was unable to be there on the very final night. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I had business in Portugal. But since I was in Portugal, it would be very difficult to attend the event and all that. It's a bit of a walk. A bit of a swim too. So I had to be in Lisbon, and so I missed that last night. But on the last night I was able to be there, which was just before I took off for Europe, on that last night of the event that I was able to attend, I was walking out to the park after the final Bill and Ted of that evening, which I had seen and enjoyed. And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to go home now. And this will be it for Halloween Horror Nights 23 for me. And I was sort of, but it hadn't closed completely. The scare zones were still active. And I was coming down Hollywood Boulevard, going eventually to the entranceway and go out the park. But I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard. It's the last scare zone I'm going to get a good look at. And I'm looking around, and I realize that there's a zombie following me. It's just right there, and that's over, way over by the ice cream parlor. It's right there, and it's a girl zombie, and she's screaming, and I thought she might have said Dr. Jimmy. I'm not sure, but that would be out of character. It's not supposed to talk, but she's coming after me. And I thought, And then as I walked further down and around the corner, she's still there, and the same zombie followed me all the way to where the Lucy shop used to be and Hello Kitty is nowadays, at the very perimeter of that of her area, and even followed me a little bit out of that, past that, where she's not supposed to go all the way, getting closer to the Plaza of the Stars before she lurched back into her zone. I thought, well, that's nice. I've sort of been given a neat zombie escort out of the park. I sort of took it, I'm sure the scare actor knew who I was and was giving me a thrill, hoping I'd write it up somewhere. And I think she mentioned something on one of her Facebooks, and I said, you did a good job, thank you. But it was sort of like a walkout, sort of like a little escort out of the park on my last night at Horror Nights 23. So I appreciated it very much. It was a neat touch. So I have some personal feelings for Clea. I rather liked it. Alright, now the third set scare zone, and this was the most elaborate, really. It was called The Farm, and it represents those episodes in Season 2 which take place at Herschel Green's farm. And I have a Herschel figure over there. I should bring him over to have him say hello. Little Funko Pop of Herschel, except, of course, it's not a Season 2 Herschel. It's a Season 4 Herschel, before he gets his head lopped off. But before that, he's already lost a leg and he's on crutches. He's got a little ponytail. It's Herschel at the prison before the governor killed him, basically. So I'll leave him over there. And there's other figures that I could bring over. The Well Walker. It's really... Oh, I have to bring the Well Walker. I'm going to anyway. I'm going to. Yes, I have to bring over my visual aids. My visual aids. Here's Herschel. Yes, here's Herschel. Hello, Herschel. There he is. Herschel Green. Nice fella. Had a farm. He's a veterinarian. Lost his leg though. Later on, so he's on crutches. Hasn't got a right leg. So he's got one leg to stand on. Got a little ponytail on the back. Cute. And of course in season 2, I don't think he had the ponytail. But here's one of the most interesting walkers from the whole program that showed up in season 2. He's called the Well Walker. He's not a very well walker at all. He's much fatter than he looks in Funko Pop form. Morbidly obese. He was down the well on the farm. And they try to pull him up the well to get him, because he's contaminating the drinking water. You can't drink water that has zombies floating in it. It makes it icky. And so they try to get him out with a rope. So he's got the rope on him. They try to pull him out of the well with the rope. And what happens when they try to pull the rope? This happens! He bursts in two. Icky, icky, icky. He gets all kinds of zombie pus, icky, gross stuff all over inside. Put his spine back in. All over the water, and fuck up the drinking water supply for good, because now it's got bits of zombie floating in it. They had one nasty zombie in before, now they got all the guts, the huge bloated, he was a big drowned bloated man, and all that big bloated whatever it was inside of him bursts out all over the place. Ick, ick, ick. One of the better episodes. Just before the Chupacabra episode, where Daryl Dixon falls off his horse, gets injured with his own arrow, and has hallucinations. That was a cool episode too. But we'll continue though with the farm scare zone, and I'm going to call it a scare zone because it was. That was located between Mel's and Central Park for Halloween Horror Nights 23 in another video, which will be part 16. Yeah, so we'll get to part 16 next time. Till then, have fun. And remember, this is Saturday the 10th. That means Halloween Horror Nights 26 is only 6 days away. Same thing with the one in Hollywood, 6 days away. But if you're living in Osaka, Japan, today was the first day of Horror Nights. Or first night, yes. I say was because it would have been early this morning, and it's already like 2 o'clock in the following morning, and they would have closed way before this because they have to catch the trains back home, so they close earlier than they do over here. All right, so but there's already been one Halloween Horror Night already this year in Japan. Isn't that amazing? Well, I have to cut this off. I'm getting way over time. So whenever next video will be about the next video in this series will be part 16 as I begin the farm scare zone. Have fun.